A Werewolf Romance, written by Lilian Gerard. Prologue. They didn't even look back. I was 8 years old the day my pack left me in the Blackwood Forest to die. 8 years old when I learned that family meant nothing if you were born wrong. That blood ties could be severed as easily as cutting a rope. That a child's life could be worth less than the effort it took to end it quickly. I remember watching them walk away through the trees. Alpha Garrick in front, his massive shoulders blocking out the setting sun. My father beside him, my own father, his face carved from stone, refusing to meet my eyes. The pack warriors flanking them, weapons gleaming, making sure I understood. If I tried to follow, they would kill me. They'd given me nothing. No food, no water, no cloak against the cold that would come with nightfall. Just my thin dress and bare feet, and the knowledge that I was alone. My name is Kira, and I am the wolf they threw away. They thought I was defective, weak, a stain on the pack's bloodline because I hadn't shifted by my 8th birthday, because I was small and strange and saw things others didn't, because my mother had died birthing me, and everyone whispered it was my fault, that I'd taken her wolf, stolen her strength, left nothing but a corpse. But they were wrong about me. The forest didn't kill me. It raised me. And the blood they thought was weak? It was the strongest blood in our world. Luna blood, ancient and pure, thought lost forever when the last Luna Queen was murdered 30 years ago. They never knew, but they will. This is the story of how a thrown-away pup became the Luna Queen who brought the packs to their knees. How I went from nothing to everything. To my 8th birthday, the day I became something they could never imagine. Chapter 1. Left Behind. The world ended on the day I turned 8. Birthday could be an ending. When your pack leader decides you're not worth the air you breathe, when your own father agrees, when 30 wolves who've known you since birth turn their backs and walk away, leaving you in a forest full of things that hunt at night, that's not a birthday. That's a death sentence. They'd made me walk for hours, deep into Blackwood Forest, past the territory markers, past the safe zones where pack wolves hunted, into the wild lands where rogues prowled and worse things lived in the shadows. My feet were bleeding. The thin slippers they'd let me wear, the only kindness, if you could call it that, had torn apart miles ago. Every step sent pain shooting up my legs, but I didn't cry. Crying made Alpha Garrick angry, and when he was angry, his hand was heavy. I'd learned that lesson well over the years. This is far enough. Garrick's voice was gravel and granite, the voice that commanded 100 wolves without question. He stopped in a clearing surrounded by ancient oaks, their branches twisted like arthritic fingers reaching for a sky that was already dimming toward twilight. The pack stopped behind him. 30 wolves in human form, their eyes carefully averted from me. No one wanted to look at the shame they were about to commit, except my father. He looked at me. His eyes, the same green as mine, the only thing I'd inherited from him besides abandonment, met mine for the first time in weeks, and I saw nothing there. No love, no regret, no recognition that the small, shaking girl in front of him was his daughter, just cold assessment, and relief. Relief that I would finally be gone. Kira. Garrick's voice pulled my attention back to him. Do you know why we've brought you here? I nodded. I knew, everyone knew, it had been decided 3 days ago, after my 8th birthday had come and gone with no shift, no sign of a wolf rising in me. 3 days of whispers and sideways glances and my father packing my few belongings into a bag he'd later unpack, because I wouldn't need them where I was going. Speak, Garrick commanded. Because I'm defective, I whispered, my voice barely audible over the wind moving through the trees. Because I haven't shifted. Because I'm Wrong. Because you're a drain on pack resources, Garrett corrected, as if this was a lesson I needed to learn before I died. Every day you remain, you consume food that could go to warriors. You take up space that could house a breeding female. You weaken us by association, making other packs think Nightshade Pack is so desperate we keep defective pups. Each word hit like a stone. I wanted to argue, to tell him I'd eaten less than anyone, worked harder than wolves twice my age, tried so desperately to be useful, to be worth keeping. But what was the point? His mind was made. They all were. The forest will do what we cannot, Garrett continued, and I understood then. They weren't going to kill me outright. That would be murder, and even wolves had laws. But abandonment? Leaving a helpless child in a dangerous forest with night falling? That was just natural selection. If you survive until dawn, Garrick said, though his tone suggested he didn't believe I would, you may leave these territories, become a rogue, find some human town foolish enough to take in a wolfless girl. But if you try to return to Nightshade lands, his eyes flashed gold, his wolf rising close to the surface, we will hunt you. We will kill you, and no one will mourn. Am I clear? Yes, Alpha, I whispered. He nodded once, then turned away. We leave. Now. The pack moved as one, turning their backs, forming a barrier between me and home, between me and everything I'd ever known. Wait! The word tore out of me before I could stop it. Please, I need... My father turned back. For one desperate, stupid moment, I thought he might say something. Anything. A goodbye. An apology. A last scrap of recognition that I had once mattered to him. Instead, he pulled something from his pocket. A small cloth bundle. He threw it to the ground at my feet. Your mother's, he said flatly. The only thing she left. I don't want to see it again. Then he turned and followed his Alpha into the trees. I waited until they were gone, until the last rustle of movement faded, until even the scent of pack was carried away by the wind, before I moved. My hands shook as I picked up the bundle. The cloth was soft, worn, stained with age. I unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a necklace. Silver chain, delicate and fine, with a pendant that caught the dying light. A crescent moon cradling a star. It was beautiful. More beautiful than anything I'd ever owned. More beautiful than anything an ordinary pack wolf should have owned. But I didn't understand what it meant. Not then. I clasped it around my neck, tucking it under my dress where it rested against my heart. The metal was warm, as if it had been waiting for me, as if it recognized something in me that no one else could see. Then I looked around the clearing, really looked, and felt fear settle into my bones like ice. The sun was almost gone. Maybe an hour of light left. Maybe less. I was 8 years old, alone, weaponless, in the most dangerous forest in the territory, and I could already hear things moving in the shadows. I should have been terrified, should have been crying, screaming, breaking down the way any abandoned child would. Instead, I felt something else. The forest was talking to me, not with words, with feelings, impressions. The oak trees around me felt ancient and wise, their roots deep, their branches protective. The moss growing on their trunks felt soft and welcoming. Even the wind seemed to be whispering directions, guiding me toward what? I closed my eyes and just listened. Really listened, the way I'd always been able to, but had learned to hide because it made other wolves nervous. The way I could feel emotions bleeding off people, could sense the health of plants, Could tell when storms were coming days before the sky showed signs. The things that made me wrong. There, something whispered in my mind. Not my voice. Something older, deeper. A presence that felt like it had been sleeping in my blood my whole life, now stirring at the edge of my awareness. East. Shelter. Water. Safety. I opened my eyes and turned east. In the fading light, I could just make out a gap between the trees. A deer trail, maybe. Or something else's path. I had two choices. Stay in the clearing and wait for death, or trust the strange voice in my head and move. I moved. The trail was narrow and overgrown, forcing me to push through brambles that tore at my dress and scratched my arms. But the voice kept guiding me, kept pushing me forward with gentle insistence. And somehow I knew, the way you know things in dreams, that it was leading me somewhere safe. Darkness was falling fast now. The sounds of the forest changed. Daytime birds gave way to nighttime hunters. Something howled in the distance. Not a wolf. Something else. Something that made every survival instinct scream at me to hide. "Keep going," the voice urged. Almost there. My foot caught on a root and I went down hard, my palms scraping against stone. Pain flared bright and sharp. Blood welled from the cuts, dark in the dim light. I bit back a sob and pushed myself up, my whole body shaking now from exhaustion and fear, and the bone-deep cold that came with night in the forest. That's when I saw it. A cave. Small, barely more than an indentation in a rocky hillside, hidden behind a curtain of hanging vines. But it was shelter. It was safety. I crawled inside, my injured hands leaving bloody prints on the stone, and collapsed in the furthest corner. The cave was shallow but dry, and blessedly empty of anything that might eat me. The stone still held warmth from the day's sun, and when I looked up, I could see stars beginning to emerge through the vine curtain, their light cold and distant but somehow comforting. I wrapped my arms around myself and finally let the tears come. Not loud crying. I'd learned years ago that loud crying brought punishment. But quiet tears that slid down my cheeks and dripped onto my torn dress, onto the silver necklace that had somehow stayed clasped around my neck through everything. "I'm going to die here," I whispered to the darkness. "I'm going to die alone, and no one will care." "No," the voice said, and this time it was clearer, stronger, almost gentle. "You're going to live. You're going to survive. And you're going to show them what they threw away." I didn't believe it, but I held on to those words anyway, clutching them like a lifeline, because they were all I had. That first night in the forest, I learned what real hunger felt like, what real fear tasted like, what it meant to be so alone that the only company you had was your own heartbeat and the whispers in your head. That first night, the girl named Kira, the defective pup, the wolfless shame, began to die, and something else began to wake up. Chapter 2. Survival. I woke to sunlight streaming through the vines and the smell of rain on stone. For a confused moment, I thought I was back in the pack house, in my small corner bed, and that any second someone would be yelling at me to get up and start my chores. But then I tried to move, and pain exploded through my body, my cut feet, my scraped hands, my bruised knees, muscles screaming from yesterday's forced march and last night's collapse. Memory crashed back. The abandonment, the forest, the cave. I was still here, still alive. That shocked me more than anything. I sat up slowly, every movement agony, and looked at my hands. The cuts had scabbed over during the night, crusty with dried blood. They should have been worse, should have been swollen and infected from the dirt and bark I'd crawled through. Instead, they looked better than they should. Still injured, but healing faster than normal. I tucked that observation away to think about later. Right now, I had more immediate problems, like water, and food, and figuring out how to survive long enough to make it out of the forest. I crawled to the cave mouth and peered out. Morning light filtered through the canopy in golden shafts, turning the forest into something almost magical. The ground was damp from night rain I'd slept through, and I could hear water running somewhere nearby. The voice in my head was quiet now, dormant, but I could still feel that pull, that instinct that had led me to shelter last night. And right now, it was pulling me toward the sound of water. I emerged from the cave on shaky legs. Without the adrenaline of yesterday's fear, I could barely walk. Every step sent pain shooting up from my ruined feet. But I gritted my teeth and moved anyway, following that internal compass toward the sound of running water. I found the stream 10 minutes later, tucked into a little dell surrounded by ferns. It was small, barely wider than I was tall, but the water ran clear and cold over smooth stones. I dropped to my knees at the edge and drank, and drank, and drank. The water tasted like minerals, and earth and life. I could feel it reviving me, cell by cell, pushing back the fog of dehydration. When I'd had my fill, I washed my hands and feet as best I could, hissing at the sting. The cold water helped numb the pain a little. Then I sat back on my heels and faced the next problem: food. I knew which plants were poisonous. Pack lessons included that much survival training. And I knew which berries were safe. But it was early spring, and most of the berry bushes were still just beginning to bud. The forest wasn't generous with its offerings yet. I found some wild onions growing near the stream. Not much, but something. I dug them up with my sore hands and ate them raw, fighting back tears at how much they burned my empty stomach. Then I made myself move. Made myself explore the area, memorize landmarks, find more resources. That's how I'd survive, I realized. 1 hour at a time. One task at a time. Don't think about tomorrow or next week or how impossibly small my chances were. Just survive today. On my 3rd day in the forest, I found the injured rabbit. It was caught in some old wire snare, probably left by a human hunter who'd wandered too close to pack territory and fled before being caught. The wire had cut deep into the rabbit's leg, and from the smell, infection had already set in. It should have been easy meat. Even weak as I was, I could have killed it quickly. Could have skinned it with a sharp rock, made fire the old way I'd been taught, had the first real meal since my abandonment. But when I crouched down beside it, when I saw its dark eyes glazed with pain and fear, I couldn't do it. "I'm sorry," I whispered, reaching for the wire. "This is going to hurt." The rabbit should have thrashed, should have tried to bite me. Instead, it went very still, as if it understood I was trying to help. The wire was rusted and sharp, and it cut my already healing hands as I worked it loose. But finally, I got it free. The rabbit's leg was a mess, bloody, swollen, probably infected beyond saving. I cradled it in my lap, this small broken thing, and felt something warm building in my chest. The same feeling I'd had in the clearing when the forest spoke to me. The same feeling I'd had washing my wounds when they'd healed faster than they should have. Without thinking, I placed my hand over the rabbit's injured leg. The warmth flowed out of me, down my arm, into my palm. It felt like sunlight, like honey, like something ancient waking up inside me. My wolf! I knew it was her. The part of me that should have shifted, the power they'd all called defective, stirred, lending her strength to mine. The rabbit's body relaxed, its breathing easing. and when I pulled my hand away minutes later, the leg was better. Not healed completely, the wounds were still there, but the infection smell was gone. The swelling had reduced. The rabbit's eyes were clear and alert. It looked at me for a long moment, this small, wild thing, and I swear I saw recognition in its gaze. Then it hopped away, favoring the leg but moving steadily, disappearing into the undergrowth. I sat there with my hands shaking, staring at my palms like they belonged to someone else. What was that? What was I? Chapter 3. Alone, but not helpless. 2 weeks passed, then a month, then 2. I survived. I learned which roots were edible and which would make me sick. I learned to catch fish with my hands in the stream, moving slowly, patiently, until they forgot I was a threat. I learned to read the weather in the clouds, to find shelter before storms hit, to stay downwind of predators. I learned to be part of the forest instead of an intruder in it. My feet healed, growing tough and calloused. My hands grew strong from climbing and digging and building. My body, which had always been small and weak in the pack, became lean and wiry, all excess burned away. And the voice in my head? The strange power that had led me to shelter, that had healed the rabbit? It grew stronger. I didn't understand it, didn't have a name for it. But I learned to trust it. When it whispered danger, I hid. When it whispered safe, I explored. When it whispered heal, I placed my hands on injured creatures and let that strange, warm power flow. I became known, in a way. The animals stopped fleeing from me. Birds would land nearby, watching me with curious eyes. Deer would drink from the stream while I bathed, unafraid. Even a fox, clever, suspicious things that they were, started visiting my cave at night, curling up near the entrance like a guard dog. The forest was raising me the way a pack should have, teaching me, protecting me, making me stronger. But there were dangers too. Rogues passed through sometimes. Wolves without packs, driven by hunger or madness or both. I learned to hide when I smelled them coming, to erase my scent, to be invisible. Once a rogue caught my trail. He was huge, scarred, his eyes yellow and feral. He tracked me to the stream, cornered me against the rocks. "Well, well," he'd growled, his voice more animal than human. "What do we have here? A pup? All alone?" I'd backed against the stone, my heart hammering, knowing I couldn't outrun him, couldn't fight him. That's when the forest moved. The fox appeared first, darting between us, snarling. Then the crows came, diving at his head, cawing alarm calls. Then other things, snakes slithering at his feet, a badger emerging from nowhere. Even the trees seemed to lean in, their branches catching at his clothes. The rogue had stumbled back, confusion and fear crossing his features. "What the—" "Leave," that voice in my head commanded, and somehow, impossibly, I felt it echo out from me like a shockwave. The rogue whimpered. Actually whimpered. Then he turned and ran. I'd collapsed after he left, shaking uncontrollably, not understanding what had just happened. But the forest did. The animals did. They saw something in me that I couldn't see yet. Something that made them protect me. Something that made rogues flee. Something that was growing stronger with every passing day. By my 9th birthday, a day I marked only by scratching another moon phase into the wall of my cave, I had been alone in the forest for a full year. A year of survival. A year of learning. A year of becoming something other than what I was. I stood at the stream that morning, looking at my reflection in the still water, and barely recognized myself. My hair, which had been light brown, had darkened to a deep auburn with hints of silver at the temples. Strange for someone so young. My eyes, always green, now seemed to catch the light differently, almost glowing in certain angles. My face had lost its childish softness, becoming sharper, more defined. I looked feral, dangerous, like something that belonged to the wild. The silver necklace, my mother's necklace, still hung around my neck. I never took it off. It had become part of me, warm against my skin even on the coldest nights. I touched it now, tracing the crescent moon and star, and felt that pull again. That voice, stronger than ever before. "It's time," it whispered. "Time to leave the forest. Time to find others. Time to discover what you really are." "I'm a throwaway," I said out loud, my voice rough from disuse. "I'm nothing." "You're everything," the voice corrected, gentle but firm. "And they're coming. Others like you, others who will see what your pack couldn't." "What am I?" I asked the forest, the sky, the voice in my head. "What's happening to me?" The answer came not in words but in feeling. A sense of ancient power sleeping in my blood. A legacy thought lost. A destiny I couldn't escape. But I still didn't understand. Not yet. That understanding would come 6 months later, on the day I met him. The rival alpha who would change everything. The wolf who would make me question every truth I'd been taught. The one whose scent I would catch on the wind one autumn morning and know, instantly and instinctively, mine. But that's a story for tomorrow. For now, I was still just Kira, the throwaway, the survivor, the girl the forest had claimed, and I was about to discover that being claimed by the forest was only the beginning. Chapter 4: The Edge of the World. 6 months after my 9th birthday, I reached the edge of Nightshade Pack territory. I hadn't meant to. I'd been following a wounded deer, not to hunt it, but to heal it, because that's what I did now. What I couldn't seem to stop myself from doing. But the deer had crossed the invisible boundary line where Nightshade lands ended and neutral territory began, and I'd followed without thinking. The moment I crossed that line, I felt it. Like walking through a spiderweb. Like stepping from warm water into cold. The sense of pack that had always been in the background, even hated, even abandoned still there, suddenly snapped and fell away. I stopped walking, stood perfectly still in a shaft of autumn sunlight, leaves crunching under my bare feet. I was truly alone now, truly severed from everything I'd been. For a long moment I waited for the grief to come, the pain, the sense of loss. But all I felt was relief. Clean, pure relief. Like setting down a weight I'd been carrying so long I'd forgotten it was there. "Good," the voice in my head purred. "Now you can become what you were meant to be." I moved deeper into neutral territory, following deer trails and stream beds, staying away from the pack roads that crisscrossed this no-man's land between pack territories. Neutral ground was supposed to be sacred. No pack could claim it. No alpha could rule it. It was for rogues and travelers, and those who belonged nowhere. It was perfect for me. I made a new shelter, this one more permanent. A hollow tree, massive and ancient, its heart rotted out to create a space just big enough for someone my size. I lined it with moss and leaves, stored dried meat and berries in the upper reaches, claimed it the way I'd claimed my cave. And I watched the wolves who traveled the roads. watched the way they moved in groups, always wary, always ready to fight or flee. Watched how they marked the boundaries of neutral territory with scent and scratching, warning others away from their temporary camps. I learned to identify the different packs by their scent, their coloring, their behavior. Nightshade Pack, my former pack, with their dark fur and brutal hierarchy. They traveled with weapons always visible, their eyes hard, their movements aggressive. Silverwood Pack from the north, with their lighter pelts and strange amber eyes. They moved differently, more cautiously, more aware of their surroundings, like they were used to being prey as well as predator. And then there was Blood Moon Pack. They came through on a cold October morning when fog hung low over the ground like a living thing. I smelled them before I saw them. A scent that made something in my chest tighten and my breath catch. Smoke and pine and something else. Something wild and dark and utterly compelling. I was in my tree, hidden in the shadows, when they appeared on the road below. 12 wolves in human form, moving with the coordinated grace of a true pack. Warriors, all of them. You could see it in the way they carried themselves, the way their eyes constantly scanned the forest, the weapons they wore like second skins. But it was the one in front who stole my breath. He was tall, taller than any wolf I'd seen. His hair was black as midnight, pulled back from a face that was all sharp angles and hard lines. He wore leather and steel, a massive sword strapped to his back, and moved with the kind of confidence that spoke of never having lost a fight. An alpha. Undeniably. The power radiated off him in waves, but it wasn't his appearance that stopped my heart. It was his scent. That smoke and pine smell hit me like a physical force, and suddenly the air was too thick to breathe. My vision tunneled. My pulse pounded in my ears. And the voice in my head, the one that had been quiet for days, suddenly screamed, "Mate!" No, that was impossible. I was 9 years old. 9. Mate bonds didn't manifest until first shift, and I'd never shifted. I didn't even have a wolf. I was defective, remember? That's why they'd thrown me away. But my body didn't care about logic. Every cell was screaming at me to move, to follow, to claim what was mine. I dug my fingers into the bark, forcing myself to stay still, to stay hidden. If they saw me, if they caught me. The alpha stopped. His head turned, nostrils flaring, and even from 20 feet up I could see his eyes flash gold as his wolf rose to the surface. "Spread out!" he commanded, his voice deep and rough. "Someone's watching." My heart stopped. The warriors obeyed instantly, fanning out into the forest, weapons drawn. They were going to find me. Going to kill me, probably, for spying on a pack alpha in neutral territory. I had to run. Had to... "Stay," the voice commanded. "Trust." Trust what? Trust the impossible mate bond to a stranger who'd probably rip my throat out? Trust the forest to protect me against trained warriors? But I didn't move. Couldn't move. Because part of me, the part that had been screaming mate 10 seconds ago, wanted him to find me. Wanted him to look up into this tree and see me and know, the way I knew, that something impossible was happening. He was 20 feet away now. 15. 10. His scent was overwhelming, intoxicating, making me dizzy. Making me want things I was too young to understand, but my body recognized anyway. He stopped directly beneath my tree. Looked up. Our eyes met. For one infinite moment, the world stopped turning. The forest went silent. Even my heartbeat seemed to pause. His eyes were silver. Pure, molten silver, not gold like most alpha wolves. They locked onto mine with an intensity that stole my breath. I saw his nostrils flare, saw recognition flash across his features, saw his whole body go rigid. He felt it too. "Alpha," one of his warriors called. "Did you find something?" The Alpha, my mate, impossible as it was, stared at me for 3 more seconds. I saw the war in his expression, confusion, suspicion, and beneath it all the same bone-deep pull that was tearing me apart. Then his face went carefully blank. "No," he said, his voice controlled. "False alarm. We keep moving." He turned away, and I didn't know if I was relieved or devastated. Chapter 5. The Stranger's Name. I stayed in that tree for an hour after Blood Moon Pack left, my whole body shaking. What just happened? The mate bond was sacred. Absolute. When 2 wolves found their true mate, they knew. Instantly. Completely. It was supposed to be the most important moment of a wolf's life. But I wasn't a wolf. I'd never shifted. Never would shift, according to everyone who'd ever known me. So why had I felt it? And more importantly, had he? The way he'd looked at me suggested yes. The way he'd lied to his warriors suggested he didn't want them to know. But why? I climbed down from the tree on shaky legs and made my way back to my hollow tree den. But I couldn't settle. Couldn't rest. That scent, smoke and pine and something uniquely his, was branded into my lungs, my memory, my soul. I needed to know who he was. Needed to understand what was happening to me. So I did something stupid. I followed them. Not closely. I wasn't suicidal. But I tracked their scent trail, staying downwind, using every skill the forest had taught me to remain undetected. They were heading northeast, toward the border between neutral territory and what I'd learned was Blood Moon Pack lands. I followed for hours until the sun started to set and the temperature dropped and my feet were numb with cold. That's when I heard voices. They'd made camp in a clearing beside a stream, fire glowing warm against the darkening sky, tents erected with military precision, guards posted at intervals, watching the perimeter. I found a spot upwind, concealed in the underbrush, and settled in to watch. And listen. "Still think we should have investigated further," one of the warriors was saying. His voice carried across the clearing. "You smelled something, Dante. I saw your reaction." Dante. His name was Dante. I repeated it silently, tasting it, feeling how it fit in my mouth, how right it felt. "I smelled a rogue, Dante." My Dante, something in me whispered, replied, his voice flat. "Half-starved, probably feral. Nothing worth our time." Liar. He knew what I was. Or at least, he knew I wasn't just a random rogue. "Still," another warrior said, "we're close to Nightshade borders. If they're sending scouts into neutral territory—" "They're not," Dante interrupted. "I would have smelled pack scent. This was a lone wolf. Unaffiliated. Not our concern." The conversation moved on to other things, territorial disputes, upcoming challenges, politics I didn't understand. But I stayed fixed on Dante, watching the way the firelight played across his features, the way he held himself even in rest, the way his eyes occasionally flicked toward the forest, as if he knew I was out there. Watching him, wanting him. "Alpha." An older warrior approached, his tone respectful. "Your father sent another message. He wants to know when you'll return." "When I'm finished," Dante said shortly. He's concerned about the Nightshade situation. They're getting bolder, pushing into territories that aren't theirs. He thinks... I know what he thinks. Dante's voice hardened. Tell him I'll handle it. Nightshade. My former pack. Something cold settled in my stomach. Blood Moon and Nightshade were enemies. Had been for generations, according to stories I'd overheard as a child. Border disputes, territorial wars, blood feuds that went back decades. If Dante ever learned I came from Nightshade Pack, even if they'd thrown me away, would he see me as the enemy? Would this impossible mate bond matter at all against generations of hatred? I was so lost in thought I almost missed the shift in the camp's atmosphere. The guards suddenly went rigid. Hands moved to weapons. Even Dante rose to his feet, his body language shifting from relaxed to battle-ready in an instant. Someone, something, was approaching. I melted deeper into the underbrush, making myself invisible the way I'd learned to do. My heart hammered against my ribs. 3 figures emerged from the tree line on the opposite side of camp. Rogues, I could tell from their ragged appearance, their feral movements. But these weren't the half-mad, starving rogues I'd encountered before. These were organized, armed, dangerous. Blood Moon, the lead rogue said, his voice a gravelly snarl. Didn't expect to find you here. Neutral territory is neutral, Dante replied, his hand resting casually on his sword hilt. But there was nothing casual about his posture. You have business with us? Maybe. The rogue smiled, showing too many teeth. Heard interesting rumors about a Blood Moon Alpha traveling with a small party, away from Packlands, vulnerable. You think 12 trained warriors are vulnerable? One of Dante's men laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. Against 3 rogues? No. The lead rogue raised his hand and suddenly the forest came alive with movement. 20, 30, maybe 40 wolves emerged from the shadows, circling the camp. Against an army? Maybe. This was an ambush, a planned, coordinated attack on a pack alpha in neutral territory, which was supposed to be impossible, forbidden, an act that would bring the wrath of every pack down on the attackers. But rogues didn't care about laws. Dante's warriors drew weapons, forming a defensive circle, but they were outnumbered at least 3-1. Even trained pack wolves had limits. This was going to be a massacre. I should leave, should run. This wasn't my fight. These wolves meant nothing to me. If Dante died here, the mate bond would break and I could go back to my simple life in the forest and forget this impossible complication ever happened. I should leave. But my body was already moving. The voice in my head, the one that had been quiet since Dante's pack left, suddenly roared to life. Protect. Defend. Save him. And for the first time in my life, I felt my wolf rising. Not shifting. I still couldn't do that. But something inside me unfurled. Something ancient and powerful that had been sleeping since birth. Waiting for this moment. Waiting for a reason to wake up. I stepped into the clearing. Chapter 6. The Power Revealed. Stop. The word came out of me like a command from the gods themselves. Not loud, not shouted, but absolute. Every wolf in that clearing froze. Not because they wanted to, because they had to. Because something in my voice, something primal and ancient and utterly alpha, demanded obedience. Including Dante. I saw shock flash across his face as his body locked in place, his wolf submitting to a command he didn't understand. His warriors were the same, frozen mid-motion, weapons half drawn. The rogues were frozen too, and on their faces wasn't just shock. It was fear. I walked forward slowly, my bare feet silent on the forest floor. I was still small. 9 years old and half-starved would do that, but somehow I felt bigger, stronger, like I was taking up more space than my body should. The silver necklace at my throat was burning hot, glowing faintly in the gathering darkness. "Leave," I said to the rogues, my voice still carrying that strange resonance. "Now, and don't come back." The lead rogue tried to fight the command. I saw him shaking with effort, his muscles straining, his wolf howling in protest. "Who?" he managed to choke out. "What are you?" Good question. I didn't know the answer myself, but the voice in my head did. "Luna," it whispered. "You're Luna, and they know it." I raised my hand, an instinctive gesture I didn't think about, and every rogue in that clearing dropped to their knees, including the lead rogue, who looked like he'd rather die than submit, but couldn't help himself. "Leave," I repeated. "This alpha is under my protection. Touch him, and you'll answer to me." "Luna," the lead rogue breathed, and there was awe in his voice now. Terror, reverence. "The Luna bloodline. They said it was extinct." "Do I look extinct?" I asked quietly. He shook his head mutely. "Then go." They went. Fled, really. 40 rogues scrambling over each other to get away from me, disappearing into the forest like they'd never been there. The moment they were gone, whatever power had been holding Dante and his warriors released. They stumbled, gasping, weapons clattering as hands lost coordination. And every single one of them turned to stare at me. I suddenly felt very small again, very young, very aware that I was a 9-year-old girl in a torn dress facing 12 trained warriors who I'd just magically commanded like they were puppets. My voice came out normal now, small and scared. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. They were going to kill you, and "Kneel," Dante said softly. His warriors dropped to their knees immediately, but Dante's eyes were locked on mine, and he wasn't kneeling. He was staring at me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve, a threat he couldn't assess, something impossible he couldn't explain. "Luna," he said, and the word was half question, half accusation. "You're Luna." I didn't know what to say. Didn't understand what had just happened any more than he did. "The Luna bloodline ended 30 years ago," Dante continued, taking a step toward me. I forced myself not to step back. "Every heir was hunted down and killed. Every last one. It's historical fact." "Apparently not," I managed. "Who are you?" He was close now. So close I could smell him. That smoke and pine scent that made my head spin. "Where did you come from? Which pack?" I couldn't tell him. If he knew I was Nightshade, if he knew I was the enemy. "I'm no one," I whispered. "I'm packless. Rogue. I've been alone for... liar." But his voice wasn't angry. It was odd. "You're not alone. You have a wolf, a powerful one. I can feel it even if I can't see it. You're Lunaborn." "But that's impossible because Luna heirs don't survive to adulthood," I finished. "I know. Everyone knows. Which is why I'm asking you." I met his eyes. "Please, don't tell anyone what you saw here. You just saved my pack's lives." "I know. And you're grateful. But if word gets out that there's a Luna heir alive, every pack in the territory will come hunting. You know that's true." He did. I could see it in his eyes. Luna blood was valuable, powerful, dangerous. A Luna heir could command any wolf, could unite packs, could change the balance of power across the entire region. I'd just proved that by driving off 40 rogues with a word. If Dante told anyone, if anyone learned what I was, I'd never be safe again. Please, I whispered. He stared at me for a long moment. I saw the war in his expression. Duty versus something else. Something that made his wolf rise behind his eyes, made his body lean toward mine even as his mind clearly screamed at him to step back. The mate bond. He felt it too. I knew he did. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. "Kira." "Kira." He said it like he was testing the taste. "I'm Dante, I know." His eyebrow rose. "You were listening." "I was curious. Curious enough to risk your life to save mine?" I didn't have an answer to that. Didn't understand my own actions. All I knew was that when I'd seen him in danger, every instinct had screamed at me to protect him, even though we were strangers, even though he was an alpha of a pack that was supposed to be my enemy. "I should go," I said, breaking eye contact. "You're warriors. They'll want answers. They'll want to know who I am. And I can't. I'm not ready. Kira." His hand shot out, catching my wrist. Not hard, but firm enough to stop me. "Wait." I looked up at him. "Meet me tomorrow," he said. "Sunrise, back at that tree where I first saw you. We need to talk about this. About what you are, what it means." "Why?" "Because you just saved my life. Because you're Luna. Because—" He stopped himself, jaw clenching. "Just be there." It was a command, an alpha command. But it didn't work on me. I felt it slide off like water off stone, my Luna blood making me immune. Still, I nodded. "Sunrise," I agreed. Then I pulled my wrist from his grip and disappeared into the forest before he could say anything else. Before I could do something stupid, like tell him about the mate bond. Before I could ask why his touch made my skin burn and my heart race and everything in me scream mine, mine, mine. I ran all the way back to my tree, my mind spinning, my body trembling. What had I just done? What was I? And why, after a year of being perfectly fine alone, did walking away from Dante feel like tearing my soul in half? Chapter 7. Dawn meeting. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? My mind wouldn't stop replaying the clearing. The rogues. The power that had flowed through me when I spoke. The way every wolf had dropped to their knees like they had no choice. The way Dante had looked at me, like I was dangerous and precious in equal measure. "Luna," the voice in my head purred. "You're Luna. Finally awake. Finally ready." "Ready for what?" I asked the darkness. Everything. Helpful. When the sky finally started to lighten, that deep blue before dawn, I climbed out of my tree and made my way to the meeting spot. My hands were shaking, my stomach twisted with nerves. What if he brought his whole pack? What if this was a trap? What if he was already there, alone? Standing in the same spot where he'd stood yesterday, looking up at the same tree where I'd been hiding. He wore simpler clothes today, just leather pants and a dark shirt, his weapons minimal, making himself less threatening, or maybe just less obvious as an alpha. "You came," he said without turning around. "You asked me to." "I commanded you to," he corrected, turning to face me. "But it didn't work, did it? The alpha voice." I shook my head. "Luna trump card," he said, and there was something like wonder in his voice. "I'd heard stories, but I never thought—" He stopped himself. "How old are you, Kira?" 9. His eyes widened. 9? You're 9 years old and you can command grown alpha wolves? I didn't mean to. How did I explain? You were going to die. They all were. And something inside me wouldn't let that happen. Your wolf. I don't have a wolf. I've never shifted. Everyone says I'm defective. Everyone is wrong. He moved closer, his eyes intense. You have a wolf, Kira. One of the most powerful wolves I've ever sensed. She's just sleeping, waiting. Waiting for what? To grow up. He crouched down so we were eye level. Luna wolves are different. They don't shift young like normal wolves. They need time, maturity. Their power is too great for a child's body to handle. But when they do shift, he shook his head in awe. They're unstoppable. How do you know all this? My grandmother was a scholar, studied the old ways. She told me stories about the Luna Queens before they were all killed, about their power, their purpose. His voice softened. She also told me that if a Luna heir ever survived, they'd be in terrible danger. Every pack would want to claim them, control them, use them. Is that what you want? I asked quietly. To claim me? His jaw clenched. No. But the way his eyes darkened said otherwise. The way his body leaned toward mine said otherwise. The way his wolf rose behind his silver eyes, hungry and possessive and desperate, said otherwise. Liar, I whispered. He laughed, a rough, frustrated sound. You're 9 years old. I know. This is impossible. I know that too. But you feel it. Not a question, a statement. The mate bond. Even though you shouldn't, even though you're too young, even though neither of us can explain it. You feel it. I nodded mutely. He scrubbed a hand over his face. This is insane. I'm an alpha. I'm 23 years old. You're a child. This bond, it should not have sparked for years. My wolf knows you, but my mind knows you are a child I am duty-bound to protect. Nothing more. That is how it must remain. This shouldn't. It can't. I didn't ask for this, I said, my voice small. I didn't ask for any of it. The Luna blood, the power, I couldn't say it. Couldn't name the bond out loud. I know. He looked at me with something like pain. And I will keep you safe, Kira, from every threat, including myself. This bond changes nothing about how I will treat you. You are under my protection, and that is all. It has to be. But here we are anyway. Silence stretched between us. Finally, he asked, What pack are you from? The question I'd been dreading. I could lie. Should lie. Tell him I was from somewhere far away, some pack he'd never heard of, somewhere that wouldn't make me his enemy. But something in me, maybe the Luna blood, maybe just exhaustion, wanted to tell the truth. Nightshade, I whispered. His whole body went rigid. You're Nightshade. Was. They threw me away. Left me in the forest to die when I didn't shift by my 8th birthday. I'm not pack anymore. I'm not anything. You're everything, he said roughly. Then quieter. They threw you away. They had a Luna heir, and they threw you away. They didn't know. No one knew. The power only started waking up after I was alone. After I learned to survive. I touched the silver necklace. This was my mother's. The only thing I have from her. I don't even know who she was. If she knew what I was. If... Dante's hand shot out, grabbing my wrist, the same one he'd grabbed yesterday. But this time, he pulled me closer, his eyes fixed on the necklace. Let me see that. I fumbled with the clasp, my hands shaking, and pulled it off. He took it carefully, holding it up to the morning light. "I've seen this symbol before," he breathed, "in my grandmother's books. This is Kira. This is the royal Luna seal, the mark of the Luna Queen's bloodline. Whoever your mother was, she was direct descent from the throne. The throne that had been empty for 30 years. The Luna Queens who'd all been murdered in the Purge." "That's impossible," I said. "My mother was she was nobody. A Nightshade pack wolf who died giving birth to me." She was hiding," Dante interrupted. "She survived the Purge, went into hiding, probably changed her name, lived as a common pack wolf to avoid detection, and then she had you." His eyes met mine. "You're not just Luna-born, Kira. You're the Luna heir, the last surviving member of the royal bloodline, the rightful queen of all wolves." The world tilted. Queen? Me? No, that was impossible. Queens were powerful and wise and strong. I was a throwaway, a 9-year-old girl who lived in a tree and ate raw fish. I couldn't be a queen. "I can prove it," Dante said, his voice urgent now. "Come with me, back to Blood Moon territory. My grandmother's still alive. She'd know for certain. She could teach you, help you understand your power, keep you safe." "Safe?" I yanked my hand back. "Your pack and mine have been at war for generations. If you bring me back as a Nightshade wolf..." "You're not Nightshade anymore," he said fiercely. "They threw you away. They have no claim on you." "And you do?" He opened his mouth, closed it. The struggle was clear on his face. "No," he finally said. "I don't. No one does. You belong to yourself. But Kira..." His voice dropped low. "You're in danger here. If any other pack finds you, if they figure out what you are, they'll take you, force you, use your power for their own ends. Luna blood is too valuable, too rare. They won't care that you're 9 years old. They won't care about anything except controlling you. And you're different?" "Yes." He said it with absolute certainty. "Because He stopped himself again, jaw clenching. "Because you're my mate," I finished softly. "Don't." His voice was rough. "Don't say that. You're too young to understand what that means." "I understand that when I thought you were going to die, something inside me broke," I said. "I understand that your scent makes me feel safe and terrified at the same time. I understand that walking away from you yesterday was the hardest thing I've ever done. I might be 9, but I'm not stupid." He stared at me for a long moment. "Come with me," he said finally. "Not as my mate, not as my claim. Just come with me. Let my grandmother meet you. Let her confirm what you are. Then we'll figure out the rest together." It was a terrible idea. Going into enemy territory, trusting a stranger, exposing myself to an entire pack who might decide I was too valuable to let go. But the alternative was staying here, alone, untrained, with power I didn't understand, and enemies I didn't know closing in. And something in me, something deep and instinctive, trusted Dante. Even though I shouldn't. Even though it was dangerous. Even though everything logical screamed at me to run. "Okay," I whispered. "I'll come." The relief on his face was palpable. "Thank you," he breathed. "But," I added, "if your pack tries to cage me, if anyone tries to control me or claim me or use me, I'll burn them all down. Luna power or not, I survived alone for a year. I can survive anything." He smiled, the first real smile I'd seen from him. "I believe you." "Good. We leave at midday. My warriors will need to be prepared." "And Kira?" His expression turned serious. Don't tell anyone about the mate bond. Not my pack, not anyone. If they know, it would complicate things, I finished. I know, I won't tell. Thank you. He turned to leave, then paused. Kira? Thank you, for last night, for saving my life. You're welcome. After he left, I stood in that clearing for a long time, my mother's necklace clutched in my hand. Queen, Luna heir, mate to an alpha who was supposed to be my enemy. A week ago, I'd been nobody, just a throwaway living in a tree. Now I was everything, and I had no idea if that was a blessing or a curse. Chapter 8. Crossing the Border. Midday came too fast. I packed what little I had, my mother's necklace, a few useful tools I'd made from stone and bone, a small bundle of dried meat. Everything I owned fit in a cloth sack I could carry on my back. 1 year of life, reduced to a handful of objects. I said goodbye to the forest, touched the trunk of my tree, whispered thanks to the stream, left offerings for the animals who'd protected me. The fox who'd guarded my cave appeared one last time, her amber eyes knowing. I'll come back, I told her. I promise. This isn't goodbye forever. She yipped once, then disappeared into the underbrush. I hoped I wasn't lying. Dante and his warriors were waiting at the edge of neutral territory. 12 wolves in human form, weapons strapped and ready, eyes wary as I approached. They knew something was different about me. I could see it in their faces. The way they wouldn't quite meet my eyes. The way they positioned themselves, not threateningly, but not casually either. Like I was dangerous. They weren't wrong. Everyone, this is Kira, Dante said, his voice carrying alpha authority. She'll be traveling with us back to Packlands. She's under my personal protection. Anyone who threatens her answers to me, understood? Yes, Alpha, they chorused. But I saw the questions in their eyes, the curiosity, the suspicion. One warrior, tall, with a scar across his jaw, stepped forward. Alpha, if I may, we all saw what she did last night. The power she displayed. Is she... That's not your concern, Dante cut him off sharply. All you need to know is that she's important and she's protected. The rest is pack business. The warrior bowed his head in submission, but his eyes flicked to me with something between awe and fear. Great. Nothing suspicious about that at all. We started walking. The journey to Blood Moon territory would take 3 days, Dante explained. 3 days of traveling through neutral lands, then crossing the border into what had been enemy territory for my entire life. 3 days to figure out if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life. The warriors kept their distance from me as we walked, not hostile, but wary. Like I was a wild animal they weren't sure was tame. Only Dante stayed close, occasionally dropping back to walk beside me when the path widened. You're quiet, he observed on the second day. Thinking. About? Whether I'm walking into a trap. He didn't laugh, didn't reassure me with empty promises. Instead, he said, Smart. That's not comforting. It's honest. He glanced at me. You don't know me, Kira. Don't know my pack. You're right to be cautious, but I swear on my wolf, I will not let anyone hurt you. Not my pack, not my father, not anyone. Your father is Alpha? Was. He stepped down 2 years ago. Made me Alpha. And he's going to be thrilled you are bringing home a Nightshade wolf. You're not Nightshade anymore. My blood says otherwise. Blood doesn't make pack, Dante said firmly. Loyalty does. Choice does. You chose to leave Nightshade behind when you survived alone. That makes you rogue, free, unaffiliated. Is that what you'll tell your pack? It's what I'll make them understand. On the morning of the third day, we reached the border. I could feel it, that same sense of crossing a threshold I'd felt leaving Nightshade territory. But this was different, stronger, more deliberate. Blood Moon Pack was powerful. I could feel it in the land itself, in the trees that grew taller here, in the way the forest seemed more ordered, more claimed. Once we cross this line, Dante said quietly, you're in my territory, under my protection, but also, he hesitated, under pack law, which means my father will want to meet you. My council will have questions, and they won't all be friendly. Why are you doing this? I asked. Really, you could have left me in neutral territory, kept your pack safe from whatever threat I represent. Why risk it? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, because you saved my life, because you're Luna, and my grandmother told me stories about what happened when the Luna Queens died, how the packs descended into chaos, into war, into the brutal hierarchy that lets alphas throw away 9-year-old pups for being different. Because maybe, his voice dropped, maybe you're supposed to fix that. I'm 9 years old. You won't always be. And until then I keep you safe. I teach you. I help you grow into whatever you're meant to become. He met my eyes. That's my oath to you, as an alpha. He stopped himself. As my mate, I finished silently. Okay, I said. Let's do this. We crossed the border. Immediately I felt it, pack bonds snapping into awareness. Somewhere in the heart of Blood Moon territory, wolves would be feeling the intrusion. A stranger in their lands. An unknown threat. They'd be coming. How long before? I started to ask. They're already on their way, Dante said grimly. Hold position. Let me handle this. The pack arrived 20 minutes later. 50 wolves, maybe more, in human form, but radiating enough power that I could feel their wolves just beneath the surface. Warriors, border guards, protectors of packlands who'd sensed an intruder and come running. At their head was a man who could only be Dante's father. He had the same silver eyes, the same dark hair gone gray at the temples, the same powerful build. But where Dante's face held gentleness beneath the strength, his father's held only steel. Dante! His voice was gravelly with age, but no less commanding. Explain. Father, I bring a guest, under my personal protection and alpha authority. A guest. The former alpha's eyes locked on me, and I felt the weight of his assessment, his power, his wolf rising to test mine. A pup, a small, underfed, ragged pup you brought into our territory. Why? Because she saved my life and the lives of 12 warriors when we were ambushed by rogues. That got reactions, whispers spreading through the assembled wolves. One pup against a rogue army. Disbelief colored his father's tone. She's not just any pup. Dante moved slightly, putting himself between me and his father. A protective gesture. She's Luna-born. Silence crashed over the assembled wolves like a physical weight. Then Marcus, Dante's father, the former alpha, laughed. Not a joyful sound. A bitter, disbelieving sound that echoed off the trees. Luna-born, he repeated slowly. My son, my alpha. You bring a Luna-born child into our territory and announce it like you're presenting a new horse. She saved my life, Dante said, his voice hard. She saved 12 of our warriors when rogues ambushed us. She has power unlike anything I've ever witnessed. And yes, she's Luna-born. the bloodline everyone thought extinct. Impossible. But Marcus's eyes had shifted to me, assessing, calculating. I could feel his wolf testing mine, trying to gauge my strength. The Luna line was hunted to extinction 30 years ago. Every heir, every distant relative, every wolf with even a drop of Luna blood was slaughtered in the purge. They missed one, I said quietly, finding my voice. My mother. She survived. Went into hiding. Had me in secret. And where is this mother now? Dead. She died giving birth to me. Marcus studied me with those same silver eyes Dante had inherited. What pack? I hesitated. This was the moment. The truth that could turn them all against me. Nightshade, I whispered. The reaction was immediate. 50 blood moon wolves tensed, hands moving to weapons, lips pulling back from teeth. Warriors positioned themselves between me and their packmates, protecting their people from the enemy. From me. Nightshade. Marcus's voice had gone cold as winter. Our blood enemy for 3 generations. And you brought a nightshade wolf into our territory. Are you trying to destroy us? She's not Nightshade anymore, Dante said forcefully. They threw her away, abandoned her in Blackwood Forest when she was 8 years old because she hadn't shifted. They left her to die, Father. They have no claim on her. Blood claim trumps abandonment in pack law, Marcus countered. She was born Nightshade. That makes her... Nothing, I interrupted, my voice stronger now. I was done being spoken about like I wasn't here, like I didn't matter. Nightshade Alpha himself severed all bonds when he walked away and left me to die. I am rogue, packless, and according to your own laws, that means I can choose my allegiance. I choose Blood Moon. You choose... Marcus stopped himself, visibly controlling his anger. Child, you don't understand what you're asking. Luna blood makes you valuable beyond measure. Every pack in the territory will want to claim you, control you, use your power for their own ends. If word gets out that Blood Moon is harboring you, we'll have war. Then don't let word get out, Dante said. Keep her presence secret. Let me train her, teach her to control her power. She's 9 years old, Father. She needs protection, not politics. She's a weapon, Marcus said bluntly. A Luna who can command any wolf with a word? That's not a child to be protected. That's a strategic asset to be controlled. She's a person, Dante growled, his wolf rising behind his eyes. Not a weapon, not an asset. A person who's been through hell and deserves a chance to heal. Father and son stared at each other, the tension thick enough to cut. Finally, Marcus turned back to me. Show me, he demanded. Prove you're what he claims. Prove you have Luna blood. I didn't want to. Using that power felt dangerous, like opening a door I might not be able to close. But I also understood. These wolves needed proof. They needed to know this wasn't some elaborate deception. I took a breath and let the power rise. Everyone except Dante and Marcus, step back 10 paces, I said, putting just a thread of command into my voice. Every warrior, every watching wolf, moved backward in perfect synchronization. Not because they chose to, because they couldn't do anything else. I released them immediately, not wanting to hold the command longer than necessary. Marcus's eyes widened. Around the clearing, I heard gasps, whispers, the shuffle of wolves who just felt Luna authority for the first time. By the moon goddess, someone breathed. It's real. She's really Luna. But she's so young. Enough, Marcus commanded, silencing his pack. He looked at me with new eyes, not dismissive anymore, but wary, respectful. Luna blood confirmed, but that raises more questions than it answers. Before he could continue, an elderly voice called out from the back of the crowd, "Let me through. Let me see her." The wolves parted, and the same white-haired woman who'd knelt before me earlier pushed forward. She moved with surprising speed despite her age, her eyes fixed on me with an intensity that made me want to step back. When she reached me, she didn't kneel. Instead, she cupped my face in her gnarled hands, tilting my head to catch the light. "Your eyes," she murmured, "green as spring leaves. And this necklace—" Her fingers brushed the silver crescent moon at my throat. "May I?" I nodded, and she carefully unfastened it, holding it up to examine the inscription on the back that I'd never been able to read. Her hands started shaking. "Grandmother?" Dante stepped closer, concerned. "What is it?" "This is Princess Mara's seal," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I know because I was there when Queen Seraphina gave it to her daughter on her 16th birthday. I was a young scholar in the Luna Queen's court. I saw this necklace blessed under the full moon. I watched Princess Mara wear it every day until—" she looked up at me with tears streaming down her face. "Until the night of the massacre. The night she disappeared." "My mother's name was Mara?" I whispered. "Your mother was Princess Mara," she corrected. "Third daughter of Queen Seraphina. The youngest. The one we thought died in the attack. But she didn't die, did she? She escaped. She hid. She lived long enough to have you." She pulled me into a fierce hug, and I felt her whole body shaking with sobs. "We thought the line was broken," she whispered into my hair. "We thought the Luna Queens were gone forever. But you're here, the granddaughter of Seraphina herself, the rightful Luna heir." When she released me, she turned to Marcus with fire in her eyes. "You asked for proof, Marcus. Here's your proof. This child carries Queen Seraphina's blood. She wears Princess Mara's seal. She commands with Luna authority. And if you turn her away, if you let fear or old grudges dictate your actions, you'll be no better than the Alphas who butchered the Luna Queens in the first place." Marcus looked like he'd been struck. "Sage! Don't sage me!" she snapped. "I've known you since you were a pup, Marcus Shadowclaw. I taught you history. I told you stories about the Luna Queens and what the world lost when they died. And now one stands before you, asking for protection, and you're considering politics?" "I'm considering survival," Marcus said, but his voice had lost its edge. "If the other packs learn we're harboring the Luna heir—" "Then we'll deal with it," Dante interrupted. "Together, as a pack. But grandmother is right. We can't turn her away. It would be wrong. And more than that, it would be stupid. Luna Queens brought peace for centuries. Maybe," he looked at me, "maybe this is our chance to end the endless wars, the brutal hierarchies, the system that creates orphans and rogues and suffering." Marcus was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, "Very well. She may stay, under strict conditions. Her presence here remains secret. No one outside Blood Moon Pack learns she exists. She trains with our warriors, learns to control her power, and stays within our territory under guard. And," he looked at Dante, "you take personal responsibility for her. Any trouble she causes, any danger her presence brings, falls on you." "Agreed," Dante said without hesitation. Marcus nodded once, then addressed the assembled pack. "What you've witnessed here today is pack business, confidential. Speak of it outside our borders, and you'll be exiled. Am I clear?" "Yes, Alpha," 50 voices chorused. "Good. Dismissed. Back to your posts. We'll discuss this further at tonight's council meeting." As the crowd dispersed, Sage, Dante's grandmother, took my hand. "Come, child, let's get you properly settled. And then we have much to discuss, starting with what it means to be Luna. Because ready or not, that's what you are now." I let her lead me away, my mind spinning. Princess Mara, Queen Seraphina, Luna heir. A week ago, I'd been nobody, just a throwaway pup living in a tree. Now I was everything, and I had no idea if that was a blessing or a curse. Chapter 9. The Scholar's Lessons. Sage's cottage was exactly what I'd imagined a scholar's home would be. Small but packed floor to ceiling with books, scrolls stacked in corners, maps covering tables, the smell of old paper and dried herbs, and something cooking that made my stomach growl despite my nerves. "Sit," she commanded, pointing to a worn chair by the fireplace. "Eat first, then we'll talk." She placed a bowl of stew in front of me, real food, hot and rich, more than I'd eaten in weeks. I tried to be polite, tried to eat slowly like pack wolves did. I failed miserably. Sage watched with sad, knowing eyes as I wolfed down the food like the starving creature I was. When I finally finished, she refilled the bowl without comment. "How long were you alone, child?" she asked gently. "1.5 years? Since I was 8? 8. Her voice hardened. "They threw you out at 8 years old. They thought I was defective. I hadn't shifted. I was small and weak, and my mother died birthing me, so everyone said it was my fault. That I'd stolen her strength. That I was—" I stopped, the old words catching in my throat. "Worthless," Sage finished quietly. "They told you that you were worthless." I nodded, not trusting my voice. "Fools," she spat. "Ignorant, cruel fools who wouldn't recognize Luna blood if it bit them. Of course you hadn't shifted at 8. Luna wolves don't shift until puberty. Sometimes not until their early teens. Your body needs time to mature enough to handle the power. But modern alphas don't remember that, don't care to learn the old ways, so they discard what they don't understand." "You're saying I will shift? Eventually?" "Yes, probably within the next few years. And when you do—" She smiled, and there was something fierce in her expression. "Your wolf will be magnificent. Silver, like all Luna wolves, larger than any alpha. And your power will fully manifest. The ability to command any wolf, regardless of rank. To heal mortal wounds. To sense emotions and lies. To connect with the moon itself." It sounded impossible. I was still just a scraggly 9-year-old who could barely believe she'd survived to see next week. "I see doubt in your eyes," Sage observed. "You don't believe me." "I don't know what to believe anymore." "Then let me tell you the truth. The real history, not the sanitized version modern packs teach." She settled into her chair, her eyes distant with memory. 30 years ago, I was barely 20. A young wolf with a gift for scholarship. I served in Queen Seraphina's court in the capital city of Silvermere. That's where I learned everything. The history, the magic, the truth about what Luna blood really means. "What does it mean?" I asked, leaning forward despite myself. "Balance," she said simply. "For centuries before the Luna Queens rose, wolves lived in chaos. Alphas fought for dominance constantly. The strong crushed the weak without mercy. Packs warred endlessly over territory, mates, resources. There was no peace, no justice, just brutal, endless violence. What changed? The first Luna was born. Her name was Ariana, and she came from a small, unremarkable pack in the Northern Territories. But she was different. She had power that transcended the alpha hierarchy. She could command any wolf with a word, could heal injuries that should have been fatal, could sense emotions and truth in a way no one else could. And most importantly, she understood that strength without wisdom leads only to destruction. Sage stood and pulled an ancient book from the shelf, leather-bound, pages yellowed with age. She opened it carefully, showing me an illustration of a silver wolf sitting beneath a full moon. Ariana united the warring packs under her rule, not through domination, but through connection. Through making alphas understand that cooperation benefited them more than constant war. She established the Luna Council, a system where alphas retained control of their territories, but Luna Queens provided oversight, balance, the ability to intervene when alpha pride threatened to destroy everything. And the alphas let her? I asked skeptically. At first, no. There were rebellions, wars, alphas who refused to bend knee to an omega female, no matter how powerful. But eventually, they learned. Because Luna Queens didn't rule alone, they chose alpha mates. Formed partnerships where the Luna provided wisdom and healing, and the alpha provided strength and protection. Together, they were unstoppable, and the packs prospered under that balance. What happened to break it? Sage's expression darkened. Greed, pride, fear. About 35 years ago, several powerful alphas began to resent Luna authority. They wanted to return to the old ways, to brutal dominance without oversight. They formed a secret coalition, building support among other alphas who felt constrained by Luna law. And then, her voice caught, then they struck. The massacre, I whispered. The massacre, she confirmed. They attacked the Luna Palace in the dead of night, killed Queen Seraphina in her sleep, killed her sons, hunted down every known heir, every distant relative, every wolf with even a trace of Luna blood. It was systematic, brutal, thorough. They thought they'd eliminated the bloodline forever. But they missed my mother. Because Princess Mara wasn't in the palace that night. She was visiting Nightshade Pack, your birth pack, as part of a diplomatic mission. When news of the massacre reached her, she went into hiding, changed her name to something common, lived as a low-ranking Omega, never told anyone what she truly was. And then she had me, I said quietly, and then she had you. Sage reached across the table, taking my hand. But childbirth is uniquely dangerous for Luna wolves. The power required to bring another Luna into the world. It takes everything. Your mother gave her life to give you yours. And she left you that necklace so that someday, when you were ready, you'd know who you really were. Tears burned in my eyes. Everyone always said I killed her, that I stole her strength. They were wrong, Sage said fiercely. Your mother chose to have you, knowing the risks. Chose to ensure the Luna bloodline survived, even if she couldn't. That was love, Kira. The greatest love a mother can show. Never think otherwise. I wiped my eyes roughly. What happens now? What am I supposed to do? Now? Sage smiled. Now you learn. You're 9 years old. You have years before you need to worry about ruling packs or fulfilling destinies. Right now, you just need to grow, to become strong enough to protect yourself when the world inevitably discovers you exist. And Dante? I asked, my cheeks heating slightly. Everyone keeps looking at us strangely. Sage's eyes gleamed with knowing amusement. You tell me, child. What do you feel when you're near him? How did I explain it? Safe and terrified. And like I'm coming home and running away at the same time. And his scent makes me... I stopped, embarrassed. Makes you feel things you're too young to understand, Sage finished gently. That's the mate bond, Kira. But that's impossible. I'm 9. The mate bond doesn't manifest until both wolves have shifted and reached maturity. Usually, yes, but you're not a usual wolf. You're Luna. And sometimes, very rarely, the mate bond manifests early, when the pairing is crucial, when the moon goddess knows that the two wolves need to find each other long before they're ready to claim each other. It's protection, guidance, insurance that you'll be together when the time comes. Does he feel it? Oh yes, that's why he's so protective, why he brought you here despite the danger. His wolf recognized you as his mate the moment he saw you. But he's a good man. He won't act on it until you're grown. Until you're ready. How long? Years, Sage said honestly. You're 9. He's 23. The age gap won't matter when you're 25 and he's 39. But right now, you're a child. He knows that. Everyone knows that. The bond will wait. What if I don't want to wait? Then you'll wait anyway, Sage said firmly. Because that's what's right. What's safe. You can acknowledge the bond exists, can accept that he's your destined mate, but you cannot act on it until you're old enough to make that choice with a clear mind. Understand? I nodded reluctantly. Good. Now, Sage stood, pulling more books from the shelves. Let's begin your real education. You need to know Luna history, Luna law, and most importantly, how to control your power. Because right now, you're a weapon without training, and that's dangerous for everyone. We spent the rest of the day buried in books and lessons. I learned about the 5 Luna queens who'd ruled before Queen Seraphina. I learned about Luna gifts, healing, commanding, empathy, truth-sensing. I learned about pack politics and ancient laws, and the delicate balance between alpha strength and Luna wisdom. My head spun with information, but I absorbed every word like I was dying of thirst, and she was water. Because this knowledge, this power, this identity, was mine. Finally, after all these years of being nobody, I was somebody. And I was going to make damn sure I was worthy of it. Chapter 10. Training begins. The next 6 months became a blur of learning and growing and transforming. Every morning I trained with Blood Moon warriors. Commander Rook, a massive, scarred wolf with one eye and a reputation for never submitting to anyone, became my primary combat instructor. You can command wolves, he said during our first session, but you need to be able to fight too. Not every threat will be wolf-shaped. And even with your power, there will be moments when you're vulnerable. I'm going to teach you to protect yourself. He was brutal, relentless. He threw me into the dirt so many times I lost count, made me run until I collapsed, fight until my knuckles bled. But I got stronger. My body, which had been rail-thin from a year of near starvation, began to fill out with muscle. My reflexes sharpened. My endurance grew. And slowly, painfully, I learned to fight. In the afternoons, I studied with Sage. History, politics, law, magic. She taught me everything she knew about being Luna, about the responsibilities and privileges and terrible burden of power. But most importantly, she taught me to control my gifts. Your commanding voice is your most obvious power, she explained one day. But it's not your only one. Luna wolves are empaths. We feel what others feel, sense truth and lies, connect with the natural world in ways normal wolves can't. I've always been able to do that, I admitted. Feel emotions, sense when people are lying. The forest spoke to me when I was alone, told me where to find shelter, warned me of danger. That's your Luna gift awakening early. Now we need to refine it, learn to control it instead of just reacting to it. She taught me meditation, how to extend my awareness outward, feeling the emotions of those around me without being overwhelmed, how to sense the health of plants and animals, how to communicate with the forest itself. It was exhausting, overwhelming. Some days I wanted to quit, to run back to my simple life in the trees where all I had to worry about was finding food and avoiding rogues. But I didn't quit, because every day I could feel myself becoming more, stronger, more confident, more capable of handling whatever the world would throw at me. My 10th birthday came and went with little fanfare. I marked it by successfully commanding 30 wolves simultaneously, a new record. Dante was there, watching from the edge of the training circle, pride clear in his silver eyes. We'd developed a careful friendship over the months. He respected my age, never crossing lines, never making me uncomfortable. But he was always there, checking on my progress, celebrating my victories, supporting me through failures. The mate bond hummed between us constantly now, not demanding, not overwhelming, just there, present, waiting. One evening, about 6 months after I'd arrived at Blood Moon Pack, I found him sitting alone by the lake that bordered Pack territory. "Mind if I join you?" I asked. He smiled and patted the ground beside him. "Never." I sat, and for a while we just watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. "How are you doing?" he asked finally. "Really tired, overwhelmed, stronger than I've ever been, terrified of what comes next." I looked at him. "Grateful you found me." "I'm grateful you let me," he said quietly. "That night in neutral territory, you could have stayed hidden. Let us get ambushed. You had no reason to save enemy wolves." "You're not my enemy." "Your old pack thinks I am." "My old pack threw me away. Their opinions don't matter anymore." He was quiet for a moment, then, "Do you ever think about them? Nightshade Pack? Your father?" "Sometimes," I admitted. "I wonder if they've heard the rumors, if they know I'm alive, if they—" I stopped. "If they regret it," Dante finished. "Yeah. For what it's worth, I hope they're drowning in regret. What they did to you was unforgivable." "Maybe," I said. "But if they hadn't abandoned me, I never would have survived alone, never would have discovered my power, never would have become who I am. In a weird way, they gave me the greatest gift possible. They forced me to become strong." "That's a very Luna thing to say," Dante observed with a small smile. "Is that good or bad?" "Good. It means you're thinking like a queen, seeing the bigger picture, understanding that sometimes terrible things lead to necessary growth." I leaned against his shoulder, carefully aware that even this small contact made the mate bond flare. "Do you ever regret it? Bringing me here? Your pack is in danger because of me. If word gets out—" "It won't," he said firmly. "And even if it does, we'll handle it. Together." "Together," I agreed, liking the sound of that word. We sat there as the sun set completely and stars emerged, and for that moment everything felt right. Like maybe I really could do this. Like maybe being Luna wasn't just burden. It was purpose. Chapter 11. Rumors and Whispers. It started with small things. Strangers appearing at Blood Moon borders, asking questions. Rogues passing through neutral territory, spreading stories about a silver-haired girl with impossible power. Pack scouts from neighboring territories getting bolder, venturing closer to Blood Moon lands than they should. Someone was looking for me. Someone had heard the rumors and was putting pieces together. "It's getting worse," Commander Rook reported during a pack council meeting I'd been invited to attend. 3 different packs have sent diplomats in the last month, all asking about increased rogue activity in our territory, all trying to get information about why we've suddenly become so protective. "They're fishing," Marcus said grimly. "They've heard something. They just don't know what yet." "We need to be more careful," another council member suggested. "Maybe send the girl away, hide her somewhere less obvious." "No," Dante said flatly. "She stays here, under our protection." "Under your protection," the council member corrected. "You've made her your personal responsibility, Alpha. But what happens when that responsibility puts the entire pack at risk?" Before Dante could respond, I stood. "I'll leave," I said quietly. Everyone turned to stare at me. "If my presence here endangers Blood Moon Pack, I'll go. I've survived alone before. I can do it again." "Sit down," Dante commanded, his alpha voice brooking no argument. To my surprise, I found myself sitting before I'd decided to. The alpha voice still worked on me, not for commands about my safety, but apparently for other things. He gentled his voice. "You're not going anywhere. We knew this might happen when I brought you here. We prepared for it, and we're not going to panic at the first sign of interest from other packs. But no buts." He looked around the council table. "This isn't up for debate. Kira is under Blood Moon protection, period. If other packs want to make something of it, let them come. We'll deal with it." "Easy to say when it's not your pups who'll die in the fighting," someone muttered. "It is my pack," Dante said, his voice hard now. "My responsibility, my decision. And I'm telling you, we stand together, or we fall apart. Which is it going to be?" One by one, the council members bowed their heads in submission. "We stand with you, Alpha," they said. The meeting ended, but the tension remained. 2 weeks later, everything changed. I was in the forest practicing my abilities, trying to sense animals from greater distances, trying to communicate more clearly, when I felt it. A presence. Watching. Not animals. Not Blood Moon wolves. Someone else. I spun around, searching the trees, my heart hammering. A figure stepped out from behind an oak. Male. Young, maybe 17 or 18. Dark fur in his partially shifted form, yellow eyes, and a scent that made my blood run cold. Nightshade Pack. "Well, well," he said, his voice rough with his wolf's influence. "The rumors are true. Little Kira's alive, and here, in enemy territory." "Who are you?" I demanded, forcing my voice to stay steady. "Doesn't matter. What matters is that Alpha Garrick is going to be very interested to learn where his lost pup ended up." He smiled, showing too many teeth. "He's been looking for you, you know. Ever since stories started spreading about a silver-haired girl with Luna power. He put it together pretty quickly. The timing, the age, the description. And he's not happy about what he threw away." "He doesn't get to be unhappy," I said, my voice hardening. "He made his choice. And now he wants to correct his mistake, claim what's rightfully his." "I'm not his anything. Blood says otherwise, pup." The scout took a step closer. "But don't worry. Alpha Garrick just wants to talk, to welcome you home, to give you the life you should have had." "I don't believe you." "Smart girl, because what he really wants is your power. A Luna heir under his control. That would make Nightshade Pack unstoppable. We could conquer every territory from here to the Northern Icelands." "I'll never help you," I said flatly. "We'll see." He started backing away, melting into the forest. "Tell your Blood Moon wolves that war is coming. And this time, "We're not leaving until we have what we came for." Then he was gone. I ran. Faster than I'd ever run, terror and adrenaline giving me speed I didn't know I had. I had to warn them, had to tell Dante that Nightshade knew, that they were coming, that everything was about to fall apart. I burst into Packlands, screaming for Dante, for Rook, for anyone who could help. Warriors appeared within seconds, weapons drawn, surrounding me protectively. "What happened?" Dante demanded suddenly there, his hands on my shoulders. "Are you hurt?" "Nightshade," I gasped out. "Scout, in the forest. He knows. Garrick knows I'm here. He's coming. He said war is coming, and they won't leave until—" I didn't need to finish. Everyone understood. "Sound the alarm," Dante commanded. "All warriors to defensive positions. Send runners to allied packs. And someone get my father. We need a war council. Now." As wolves scattered to obey, Dante pulled me close. "It's going to be okay," he said quietly. "We'll protect you." "They're coming because of me," I said, my voice breaking. "Because I'm here. This is my fault. This is Garrick's fault for being a greedy bastard who can't accept that he threw away something valuable. But Kira," he lifted my chin, forcing me to meet his eyes. "We've been preparing for this. We knew it might happen. And I swear to you, I will not let him take you, no matter what it costs." "What if it costs your pack, your people?" "Then that's a price we're willing to pay, because protecting you is the right thing to do. And more than that," his eyes flashed gold, "you're mine, my mate, my responsibility, and I protect what's mine." "I'm not—" "You are," he said fiercely. "You've been mine since the moment I saw you in that tree. The moon goddess marked you for me, and I will die before I let anyone take you away." Before I could respond, horns sounded across the territory. The warning signal. Enemy at the borders. Nightshade Pack had arrived, and they'd brought an army. Chapter 12. The Battle for Blood Moon. I'd never seen so many wolves in one place. From the watchtower where Dante had ordered me to stay, safe, protected, where I can fight without worrying about you, I could see the Nightshade forces assembled at our border. Hundreds of them, maybe more. Not just Nightshade Pack either. I could see the colors and scents of at least 3 other allied packs. Garrick had called in favors, made promises, built a coalition. All to get me back. "This is insane," I breathed. "This is politics," Sage said beside me. She'd refused to leave my side, insisting that if I was staying in the watchtower, she was staying with me. "Alpha Garrick isn't just trying to reclaim you. He's making a statement, showing other packs that he's powerful enough to demand what he wants from Blood Moon. Win or lose, this battle changes the balance of power in the territory. People are going to die because of me. People are going to die because Alpha Garrick is a greedy fool," Sage corrected. "Don't take responsibility for his choices, child." Below, I could see Dante organizing defensive positions. His silver eyes flashed gold as he shifted partially, his wolf lending him strength and authority. Marcus stood beside him, and despite their differences, father and son moved in perfect synchronization. They were outnumbered at least 3-1. "We can't win this," I said quietly. "Even I can see that." "Depends on your definition of winning," Sage said. "If winning means killing every enemy wolf, then no. But if winning means holding the line until reinforcements arrive, until Garrick realizes the cost is too high, until we make him understand that taking you isn't worth what he'll lose?" She smiled grimly. "That's very possible." A horn sounded from the Nightshade lines. Alpha Garrick himself stepped forward, his massive form imposing even in human shape. His voice carried across the distance. "Blood Moon Pack, I come for what is mine. Return the nightshade pup you've been harboring, and we leave peacefully. Resist, and we take her by force." Dante's response was immediate. "She's not yours, Garrick! You threw her away! You have no claim! Blood claim trumps abandonment. She was born Nightshade. That makes her ours." "She's a child you left to die," Dante roared. "You don't get to change your mind now that she's valuable." "Then we do this the hard way." Garrick shifted fully, his massive black wolf form rippling with power. "Attack!" the Nightshade forces charged. Blood Moon warriors met them at the border in a clash of fur and fangs and howls that shook the earth. I couldn't look away, couldn't breathe. Below me, wolves were fighting, bleeding, dying. For me. I saw Commander Rook, my relentless instructor, take a brutal blow from a massive Nightshade warrior. He staggered, his leg buckling, and a second strike sent his sword flying from his hand. He was disarmed, defenseless, and the enemy warrior raised his axe for the killing blow. I screamed, but my voice was lost in the chaos. Then I saw Dante. He wasn't just fighting, he was a force of nature, a whirlwind of silver and steel, but even he was being overwhelmed. 3 wolves circled him, and I watched in horror as a 4th came from behind, its fangs aiming for his unprotected back. He was the heart of their defense. If he fell, the entire line would collapse. They were going to die. All of them. For me. "I have to stop this," I said, moving toward the ladder. Sage grabbed my arm. "Dante ordered you to stay here, where it's safe." "Nothing about this is safe. Sage, I can end this. I can—" "You can what? Command them all to stop?" "Child, there are hundreds of wolves down there. You've never commanded more than 30 at once. Trying to control this many could burn you out. Kill you. Better me than them. Dante would never forgive himself if you died protecting his pack. Neither would I." She held my arm firmly. "Wait. Watch. Trust that he knows what he's doing." So I watched. I watched Dante tear through enemy wolves with brutal efficiency, his silver eyes blazing, his movements a blur of controlled violence. I watched Marcus hold the left flank, his experience and power evident in every calculated strike. I watched Blood Moon warriors fall, get back up, fall again, and I felt every injury, every death. The Luna gift made me feel their pain, their fear, their desperation. It was killing me to just stand there. Then I saw him. A massive, rust-colored wolf had gotten through the defensive line, was racing toward the watchtower, toward me. "Sage, I see him." She moved in front of me, her old body trembling but determined. "Stay behind me." The wolf reached the tower and shifted mid-leap, landing on the platform in human form. It was my father. I barely recognized him. I'd spent so little time with him even before the abandonment. But those green eyes were the same eyes I saw in my reflection. "Kira," he said, his voice rough. "Come home, please. This doesn't have to continue. Just come with me and it's over." "You're not my father," I said, my voice steady despite my terror. "You stopped being my father the day you walked away. I did what I thought was right. You were killing the pack's resources, endangering us by refusing to shift. I made the hard choice." "You made the easy choice," I corrected. "The hard choice would have been keeping me, teaching me, giving me time. But you took the easy way out and convinced yourself it was noble." His face hardened. "I'm not here to argue. You're coming with me. Now, willingly or not." He lunged. Sage stepped between us, her frail body no match for his strength. He shoved her aside carelessly, and she went down with a sickening crack. "Sage!" I dropped to my knees beside her, my hands already glowing with healing power. Her hip was broken, her breathing shallow. "I'm okay," she gasped. "Stop him. Use your power." My father grabbed my arm, yanking me up. "Enough! We're leaving." And something inside me snapped. Not my fear, not my restraint. My power. It exploded out of me like a shockwave, pure Luna authority flowing from every cell. "Stop!" The word echoed across the entire battlefield. Every wolf, Nightshade, Blood Moon, allied pack, everyone froze mid-strike. Total. Absolute. Complete submission. In the sudden silence, my voice rang out. "I said stop!" I could feel the strain. Feel my power stretched thin, trying to hold hundreds of wolves. Sage was right. This was too much. I couldn't maintain it. But I didn't need long. Just long enough to make them listen. "My name is Kira," I said, my voice carrying to every wolf on that battlefield. "I was born to Nightshade Pack. And yes, they threw me away when I was 8 years old. Left me in a forest to die because I hadn't shifted, because I seemed weak, because keeping me was inconvenient. I walked to the edge of the platform where everyone could see me, where they couldn't miss the silver streaks in my hair, the power radiating off me in waves. But I survived. And while I survived, I discovered something interesting. I'm not just some defective pup. I'm Luna-born, granddaughter of Queen Seraphina herself, the last heir of the Luna bloodline that everyone thought extinct." Gasps spread through the frozen warriors. "So, here's what's going to happen," I continued, feeling the strain building, knowing I couldn't hold this much longer. "You're all going to back away from each other. You're going to stop fighting. And you're going to listen to what I have to say. Because I'm Luna. And that means you don't get a choice." I released the command partially, enough that they could move and breathe but not fight. Alpha Garrick shifted to human form, his face a mixture of shock and avarice. "Luna-born," he breathed. "I had a Luna heir and I threw her away." "Yes," I said coldly. "You did. And now you want me back. But not because you care about me, because I'm useful, powerful, a tool you can use to conquer other packs." "That's not—" "Don't lie to me," I interrupted. "I can sense truth and lies. It's part of the Luna gift. You want my power. You want to control me. But here's the thing, Garrick." I let my power flare again, making every wolf on that field drop to their knees. I can't be controlled. I answer to no alpha. I'm above all of you in the hierarchy that matters. I'm Luna. I turned to address all the assembled wolves. This is the last time I'm going to say this. I am not Nightshade Pack. I am not Blood Moon Pack. I am not anyone's property or anyone's tool. I am Luna, and I choose where my loyalty lies. Right now, I choose Blood Moon, because they protected me when I had nothing, because they helped me understand my power, because they see me as a person instead of a weapon. But that choice is mine, no one else's. "You're a child," someone from the Nightshade forces called out. "You can't make decisions like that. You need pack protection, pack guidance." "I've been making life and death decisions since I was 8 years old," I shot back. "I survived alone in one of the most dangerous forests in the territory. I fought off rogues. I taught myself to hunt and heal and protect myself. I don't need anyone's protection. I'm offering my alliance to Blood Moon because I choose to. Because they earned it. The question is..." I looked at Garrick. "What are you going to do about it?" He stared at me for a long moment. Then, slowly, he bowed his head. "We withdraw," he said quietly. "But this isn't over, pup. Other packs will hear about you. They'll come. And some won't be as diplomatic as I'm being. Let them come," I said with more confidence than I felt. "I'll deal with them the same way I'm dealing with you." The Nightshade forces retreated, slowly at first, then faster as they realized I wasn't going to attack. Within minutes, the battlefield was clear except for Blood Moon wolves. The moment they were gone, I collapsed. The power drain was catastrophic. I'd pushed too far, held too many wolves, demanded too much of myself. Darkness rushed in. The last thing I felt was Dante catching me as I fell, his voice rough with fear and pride. "You magnificent, terrifying, impossible girl. What am I going to do with you?" Then nothing. Chapter 13. Recovery and Consequences. I woke 3 days later. The first thing I saw was Dante's face, haggard with exhaustion, his silver eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. "You're awake," he breathed. "Thank the moon goddess, you're awake." "How long?" My voice came out as a croak. 3 days. You burned yourself out commanding that many wolves. Sage said you were lucky to be alive. Most Luna would have died from the power drain." "Sage?" I tried to sit up, remembering. "Is she..." "She's fine. You healed her hip before you collapsed. She's been by your bedside almost as much as I have, threatening to make me leave so you could rest properly." Relief washed through me. And the pack? The battle? 23 injured, none critically. 5 dead. His voice hardened. All because Garrick decided he wanted his throwaway pup back. "I'm sorry." "Don't." He grabbed my hand. "Don't apologize for existing. Don't take responsibility for his greed. You saved hundreds of lives by stopping that battle when you did. Yes, we lost warriors. But if the fighting had continued, we would have lost so many more. But now everyone knows what I am. Yes, he couldn't deny it. Garrick's forces saw your power, heard your declaration. By now, every pack within 100 miles knows there's a Luna heir alive, and they're all going to want to meet you, test you, potentially try to claim you or kill you, depending on their political leanings. That's not great." "No," he agreed, "which is why we need to be proactive. We need to establish you publicly. Show the packs that you're real, that you're powerful, and that you're not going to be controlled or eliminated. We need to make them come to you on your terms, not attack us on theirs." "How?" "A gathering," Sage said, entering the room with a tray of soup. "A formal gathering of all the packs in the territory. Ancient tradition hasn't been called in decades, but if you, the Luna heir, call it, they have to come. Pack law demands it." "And then what?" I asked. "I show them my power and hope they decide I'm too dangerous to attack." "Essentially, yes," Sage said. "You demonstrate your Luna gifts. You command them. You prove beyond doubt that the bloodline has returned. And then you offer them a choice. Accept Luna rule returning, or face the consequences of rebellion." "I'm 10 years old." "You're Luna," she corrected. "Age doesn't matter when you have the blood." "It matters to me," I said quietly. "I'm not ready to rule packs." "I don't know how." "I don't..." "Then you learn," Dante said firmly. "You learn fast. Because ready or not, this is happening. The other packs are already mobilizing." Within a month, there will be representatives from every major pack at our borders, demanding to see you. We can let them come here chaotically, putting Blood Moon at risk, or we can organize a formal gathering on neutral ground, where we have some control. How long do I have? 3 months, Sage said. That's how long it takes to send word to all the packs, allow them to select representatives, and travel to the gathering point. 3 months to prepare you. 3 months to transform from a 10-year-old survivor into someone the packs would accept as their Luna. No pressure at all. Okay, I said, taking a shaky breath. Then let's get started. The next 3 months were the hardest of my life. Every morning I trained with Rook and the warriors, learning to fight better, to defend myself against multiple opponents, to use my small size as an advantage. Every afternoon I studied with Sage, Luna law, pack politics, ancient traditions, how to speak with authority, how to project power without aggression, how to read a room and sense deception. Every evening I practiced with my gifts, commanding larger groups of wolves, healing more complex injuries, sensing emotions from greater distances, connecting with the natural world around me, and through it all, Dante was there, supporting, teaching, protecting. The mate bond grew stronger every day, not demanding, not sexual. I was still too young for that, but deep, profound. The kind of connection where I knew what he was feeling without asking, where he knew what I needed before I spoke. My 11th birthday passed during training. I marked it by successfully commanding 50 wolves simultaneously without collapsing. Progress. I also marked it quietly, privately, by sitting with Dante under the full moon and acknowledging out loud what we both knew. You're my mate, I said. My true mate. The moon goddess chose you for me. I know, he said quietly. I've known since the moment I saw you. I'm not ready? I know that too, and I'm willing to wait. For years if necessary. Until you're grown. Until you're ready. Until you choose me not because the mate bond demands it, but because you want to. I already want to, I admitted. But you're right. I need time. Need to grow into who I'm supposed to be before I can be someone's mate. Then take all the time you need, he said, pulling me close in a carefully respectful embrace. I'm not going anywhere. The gathering arrived too fast and not fast enough. Neutral territory. A massive ancient clearing known as the Council Grounds, where, according to Sage, the Luna Queens used to hold court before the massacre. Every major pack sent representatives. Alphas, betas, warriors, witnesses. Hundreds of wolves, all gathered to see if the Luna heir was real, or if I was a fraud who needed to be eliminated. Chapter 14. The Luna's Trial. I stood at the center of the clearing wearing robes Sage had made, silver and white, the Luna colors, with my mother's necklace displayed prominently at my throat. I looked like a queen. I just had to act like one. They're here, Dante said quietly, standing at my right hand. Blood Moon pack surrounded me. My pack now, sworn to protect me. The assembled wolves watched with expressions ranging from curiosity to hostility to barely concealed greed. Alpha Garrick was there, of course, looking angry and frustrated, clearly wishing he'd never thrown me away. Other alphas I didn't know, representing packs I'd only read about, all powerful, all dangerous, all deciding whether I was threat or opportunity. An elderly alpha stepped forward. His silver fur and bearing marked him as someone important. I am Alpha Theron of Silverwood Pack, he announced, his voice carrying. I've come to challenge your claim to Luna blood. Challenge accepted, I said, proud that my voice didn't shake. What's your test? Command my wolves. Prove you have Luna authority. This was the easy part. I'd been practicing this for months. Silverwood Pack, I said, putting just a thread of power into my voice. Kneel. Every Silverwood wolf dropped to their knees instantly, including Alpha Theron, his eyes widening in shock as his body obeyed against his will. Stand, I said, releasing them. They rose, and I saw awe and fear in equal measure on their faces. Luna blood confirmed, Theron said, his voice tight. But that doesn't mean you can rule. You're a child. What do you know of pack politics? Of war? Of the hard decisions that must be made? I know what it's like to be powerless, I said clearly. I know what it's like to be thrown away, to be told you're worthless because you're different, to have to fight for every scrap of survival. That's what I bring to Luna Rule, not centuries of privilege, but the perspective of someone who's lived at the bottom, who understands that strength means protecting the weak, not exploiting them. Murmurs spread through the crowd, some approving, some skeptical. Pretty words, another alpha called out, a woman with scars across her face. But can you back them up? Can you actually hold territory? Lead in war? Or are you just a well-trained pup repeating lessons? I survived alone in Blackwood Forest for 18 months, I said, starting at age 8. I fought off rogues. I learned to hunt and heal and protect myself when no one else would. I stopped a battle between 4 allied packs with a single command. I've proven my strength. The question is whether you're willing to accept it. Show us your wolf, someone demanded. Let us see the silver Luna form. My stomach dropped. This was the part I'd been dreading. I haven't shifted yet, I admitted, and chaos erupted. She's not even fully manifested. How can she rule without her wolf? This is a fraud. Enough. Dante's alpha command cut through the noise. She's 11 years old. Luna wolves manifest late. That's documented in ancient texts. Her power is real. Her bloodline is confirmed. The shift will come when her body is ready. And what if it doesn't? Alpha Garrick stepped forward, calculation clear in his eyes. What if she's defective after all? What if the Luna blood is too weak to manifest? It's not weak, I said, keeping my voice steady despite the doubt trying to creep in. Prove it, Garrick challenged. Heal someone. Show us the Luna gift in its purest form. He gestured, and one of his warriors stepped forward, clearly recently injured, wounds deliberately inflicted and left untreated. Heal him, Garrick said, if you can. It was a trap. If I failed, he'd use it as proof I was incomplete. But I couldn't refuse without looking weak. I approached the injured wolf slowly, my heart hammering, placed my hands on his wounds, and let the healing power flow. It came easier now than it had months ago. I could feel his body's energy, see where the damage was, know exactly what needed fixing. The wounds closed, bruises faded, broken ribs knitted. In moments, he was whole. The silence was absolute. Luna gift confirmed, someone breathed. But she still hasn't shifted, Garrick pressed. And without her wolf, she's incomplete. Vulnerable. How can an incomplete Luna rule? Maybe, I said quietly. It's time to find out. Because something inside me was stirring, rising, responding to the challenge, to the doubt, to the desperate need to prove myself once and for all. My wolf. She was waking up, and she was ready. Pain exploded through me like lightning. My bones broke, reformed. My spine curved, lengthened. Fur erupted across my skin in silver waves. I fell to my hands and knees, gasping, screaming, as my first shift tore through me. First shifts were agonizing. I'd known that intellectually, but nothing prepared me for feeling my entire body torn apart and rebuilt. Then, suddenly, the pain vanished, replaced by clarity so sharp it stole my breath. I could smell everything. Every wolf, every emotion, every fear and hope and secret in that clearing. I could hear heartbeats, whispers, the rustle of leaves a mile away. I could feel the earth beneath my paws. Paws. I looked down. Massive silver paws. Fur that gleamed like moonlight. A body easily twice the size of the largest alpha wolf present. I'd shifted, and my wolf was magnificent. "Hello," a voice said in my head. Not the voice that had guided me, but my wolf consciousness, finally awake. "I've been waiting so long to meet you." "You're beautiful," I thought back. "We're beautiful," she corrected. "And now they'll see. Now they'll know. We're complete." I lifted my head and howled. Not pain, not fear. Declaration. The Luna wolf had risen, and every wolf in that clearing, Alpha and Omega alike, dropped to their knees. Not because I commanded it, because they couldn't help themselves. Luna authority in its purest form. I shifted back, easier now that I knew how, and stood before them. Someone handed me a cloak. Dante, always thinking of me, always protecting. "Still think I'm incomplete?" I asked Alpha Garrick, wrapping the cloak around myself. He couldn't answer. Couldn't lift his head. Could barely breathe under the weight of my power. "I am Kira," I announced, my voice carrying to every wolf. "Daughter of Princess Mara. Granddaughter of Queen Seraphina. Last heir of the Luna bloodline. I have commanded you. I have healed you. I have shown you my wolf. Is there anyone here who still doubts my claim?" Silence. Then an elderly female wolf spoke. "I don't doubt, Luna, but I challenge. Not your power, your purpose. Prove you'll be different from the queens before. Prove you'll bring true balance, not just another form of control." "How?" I asked. "Choose your alpha," she said. "Not for politics, not for power, but for love. Show us that Luna Queens are more than their throne." She was giving me permission to acknowledge what everyone suspected. "I already have," I said quietly. I turned to Dante. He watched me with those silver eyes, the mate bond singing between us. "Alpha Dante of Blood Moon Pack," I said formally. "Will you stand beside me? As my mate, my partner, my equal in all things except authority over wolves?" "Yes," he said without hesitation. "Today, tomorrow, forever." "And I'm yours," I replied. We didn't kiss. I was still only 11, not appropriate. But he took my hand, and that simple touch said everything. The crowd erupted in cheers. "All hail Luna Kira!" someone shouted. "All hail the Luna Queen!" The chant spread, grew, until hundreds of voices cried my name. I'd done it, claimed my throne. Now I just had to figure out how to keep it. Chapter 15. Coronation. The formal coronation happened 1 month later, under the full moon in the ancient Luna Queen's sacred grove. The grove itself was breathtaking. Massive oak trees forming a natural cathedral, their branches creating patterns that caught moonlight and threw silver shadows across moss-covered ground. According to Sage, this was where every Luna Queen had been crowned for 500 years. Until the massacre. Until the bloodline was thought extinct. Until now. I was 11 years old, and I was about to be crowned queen of every wolf pack in the territory. The ceremony was ancient, unchanged for centuries. Sage had drilled the words into me for weeks, but standing there in the moonlight with hundreds of wolves watching, I felt the weight of history pressing down. I knelt before the council of elders, 12 wolves representing every major pack, every region, every tradition. Sage performed the ritual, her voice strong despite her age. "Do you swear to protect the weak?" "I do," I said clearly. "Do you swear to unite the divided?" "I do." "Do you swear to rule with compassion and justice, to balance mercy with strength, to remember always that your power is a gift meant to serve, not to dominate?" "I do." And I meant it with every fiber of my being. She placed the Luna crown on my head, silver woven with moonstone, ancient and beautiful and heavy with responsibility. "Rise, Luna Queen Kira, first of her name, keeper of the peace, bridge between worlds." I stood, and every wolf in that grove bowed. Dante stood at my right hand, not as my subordinate, as my equal, my chosen mate, my future. "The Luna Queen has risen," Sage announced, her voice ringing through the grove. "Let the old ways return. Let balance be restored. Let peace reign once more." The celebration lasted 3 days, but on the 4th day, the real work began. Chapter 16, The Queen's Justice. My first official act as Luna Queen was to abolish the law that allowed packs to abandon pups. "From this day forward," I announced to the assembled pack alphas in my first formal council, "no wolf under the age of 13 may be exiled, abandoned, or executed for failure to shift or manifest expected abilities. Luna wolves and other late manifestors exist. We will not punish children for developing differently." "But what about true defectives?" Alpha Garrick protested. He'd been allowed to keep his position, though his power was significantly diminished. "Wolves who will never shift, who drain pack resources without contributing." "Then packs will support them," I said firmly. "Find them other roles: healer, teacher, caretaker, scout. There are dozens of ways to contribute besides fighting. Or are you telling me strength is the only thing of value in your pack?" He had no answer. Over my first year as Luna Queen, I passed 17 new laws: protection for Omegas from forced mating, fair treatment standards for Beta's restrictions on Alpha authority, over non-warriors' requirements that all packs provide education to PUPs, healthcare standards, fair distribution of resources, and more. Some alphas resisted, tried to maintain the old brutal ways. I made examples of the worst offenders, not through violence, through shame. I visited their territories personally, showed their pack members what true Luna authority looked like, gave wolves who'd been oppressed the courage to speak up. 3 alpha bloodlines ended in my first year because their packs chose to follow me instead of them. I was ruthless about justice. And slowly, painfully, the packs began to change. Chapter 17. 7 years later. Time passed differently when you were Luna Queen. Days blurred into weeks, into months, into years. The constant demands of ruling, settling disputes, making laws, enforcing justice, teaching young Lunas who manifested their gifts, consumed everything. But through it all, Dante was there. At my side, my partner, my constant. The mate bond grew stronger every year, deeper, more essential. And when I turned 18, finally grown, we completed it. The ceremony was private. Just us, Sage, Marcus, and the full moon as witness. When the mate bond finally snapped fully into place, when our wolves merged completely, Dante pulled me close with a reverence that stole my breath. "Finally," he whispered. I've been waiting 9 years for this. Was it worth it? I asked. Every single second. We built something together. Not dominance, not submission. True partnership. He handled military strategy and pack defense. I handled law and healing and justice. Together we created a system that actually worked. Balance between strength and compassion, between Alpha Force and Luna wisdom. When I was 20, we had our first child, a daughter. Born under the full moon, screaming with power, her eyes already showing hints of silver. We named her Mara, after my mother. She had the Luna gift. I felt it the moment she was born. That same healing warmth, that same commanding presence sleeping in her tiny body. The bloodline would continue. When I was 25, Alpha Garrick died. Old age and the weight of watching his world change around him. His son, who'd been a young warrior during my abandonment, took over Nightshade Pack. His first act was to come to me and bend knee. "I'm not my father," he said. "I don't want to fight the new order. I want to be part of it, to help build the world you're creating, the one my father was too stubborn to see." "Then welcome," I said, pulling him to his feet. "We have much work to do." By my 30th birthday, the wolf world was almost unrecognizable from the one I'd been born into. Pups were protected. Omegas had rights. Betas were valued. Alphas understood that true strength meant protecting the vulnerable, not exploiting them. There were still problems. Old habits died hard, and some wolves resisted change. But the foundation was solid. The Luna Queens had returned. And this time, we wouldn't fall. Chapter 18, The Council of Bone. The challenge came from the north, from the Iron Fang Pack. Their alpha, a grizzled old wolf named Kyle, believed my new laws made wolves soft. He had ignored my decree against challenging pups for rank, and a 14-year-old beta named Aurora now lay in our healing ward, her arm broken in 3 places after being forced to fight an alpha's son. She was the 3rd this month. I stood in the great council chamber, the air thick with tension. Alpha Kyle stood before me, flanked by 2 of his warriors. He didn't bow. "Luna," he grunted, a mockery of respect. "Alpha Kale." I kept my voice neutral, but the Luna power in it made the torches flicker. "You stand in violation of pack law, the law I enacted to protect our young." "Your law," he spat. "Not mine. My pack follows the old ways. Strength is proven in battle. The weak are culled. This coddling will be the end of us all." "Aurora is not weak," I said, my tone dropping to a dangerous calm. "She is 14. She is still growing. Her value is not determined by her ability to win a fight she was never meant to have." "What value does a beta have if she cannot defend herself?" Kale challenged, his eyes gleaming. "You sit on your throne of pretty words, but you do not know what it is to lead a pack in the harsh northern territories. We do not have the luxury of your southern softness." Dante took a half-step forward, a low growl rumbling in his chest. I placed a gentle hand on his arm, stopping him. This was my fight. "You think protecting a child is softness?" I asked, rising from my throne. I didn't need to raise my voice. The room grew colder. "You think allowing a young wolf to reach her full potential is a luxury? Then you are not just cruel, Alpha Kale. You are a fool." I walked down from the dais until I stood directly before him. He was a head taller, twice as broad, but he took a step back. My mother died to bring me into this world, I said, my words echoing in the silent hall. My pack threw me away because I was different. I survived alone in the Blackwood Forest, not because I was the strongest, but because I was the most determined. I learned that true strength isn't about breaking others. It's about refusing to be broken. It's about building up those around you so the entire pack becomes unbreakable. I looked past him to the watching council members. The old ways you cling to are the same ones that left me to die. They are the same ones that would have let Aurora be crippled for life for no greater crime than being young. I will not allow it. Not in my territory. Not while I am Luna. I turned my gaze back to Kale. So here is my judgment. You will return to your pack. You will publicly apologize to Aurora and her family. You will pay for her healing and compensate her for her pain. And you will restructure your training so that no pup under 16 is forced into a ranking challenge. He stared at me, his jaw working. And if I refuse? Then I will dissolve the Iron Fang Pack, I said, and the finality in my voice made the warriors behind him flinch. I will scatter your warriors to other packs who follow the law, and I will place your territory under the protection of a Blood Moon regent until a new alpha, one who understands the meaning of strength, can be chosen. The silence was absolute. He was weighing his pride against his pack's survival. Finally, his shoulders slumped. The fight drained out of him. He bowed his head, a true submission this time. It will be as you say, Luna. When he and his warriors had left, Dante came to stand beside me. You were magnificent, he murmured, his hand finding mine. It's exhausting, I admitted, leaning into him. Changing minds is so much harder than winning battles. But more lasting, he said. You're not just giving them laws, Kira. You're giving them a new way to see the world. That takes time. I looked out at the twilight, settling over the territory. Then we'd better get started. There's a lot of world left to change. Epilogue. The girl who survived. I am Kira. I am 30 years old, and I have been Luna Queen for 19 years. Today, I'm standing in Blackwood Forest, in the exact clearing where my pack abandoned me 22 years ago. There's a monument here now. Simple stone, but meaningful. The inscription reads, for every throwaway, every abandoned pup, every wolf told they were worthless, you survived. You mattered. And we will never forget. Dante stands beside me, his hand warm in mine, our mate bond as strong as the day it formed. Do you ever regret it? He asks quietly. Taking on all this responsibility? You could have stayed hidden, lived quietly. And let other pups suffer what I suffered? I shake my head. Never. This is what I was meant for. What my mother died giving me the chance to do. What the moon goddess kept me alive to accomplish. You've changed the world, he says. We've changed the world, I correct. Together. Together, he agrees, pulling me close. Behind us I hear footsteps. Our children racing through the forest, playing an elaborate game of chase. Mara leads the pack, her silver fur gleaming in the afternoon sun. 10 years old, the same age I was when I shifted. Her power is already stronger than mine was. Behind her, our twin sons, Leo and Ash, 5 years old, one with Dante's silver eyes, one with my green. They haven't shifted yet, but their wolves are there. I can feel them sleeping, growing stronger every day. The next generation, the future, proof that throwaway pups can become queens. Mara catches my eye and grins, her wolf form radiating joy and power in equal measure. She races over, shifting mid-stride to human, throwing her arms around me. Mama, Can we go to the old tree? The one you lived in? You promised you'd show us." "I did promise," I agree, ruffling her silver hair. "Come on, all of you. Let me show you where your mother learned to survive." As we walk through the forest that raised me, the forest that kept me alive when no one else would, I think about the girl I was. 8 years old, abandoned, terrified, convinced she was worthless. And I think about who I became. Luna Queen, mate to Dante, mother to the next generation of leaders, the girl who survived and changed everything. "Mama?" Mara asks as we reach my old tree hollow. "When you were here alone, were you scared?" "Every day," I admit. But I was also determined. I decided that surviving wasn't enough. I wanted to live, to become someone strong enough that no one could throw me away ever again. "And did you?" I smile and pull her close. "What do you think?" "I think you became someone no one could ever throw away. Someone the whole world bows to. Someone who protects wolves who can't protect themselves." She looks up at me with those wise silver eyes. "I want to be like you when I grow up." "You'll be better," I promise, "because you won't have to fight for every scrap of respect. Won't have to prove your worth to people who've already decided you're worthless. You'll grow up knowing you matter, that you're valued, that you're loved, and that will make you stronger than I ever was." "I don't know," Dante says, joining us at the tree. "Your mother is pretty strong. She stopped an entire war with one command. She changed laws that had stood for centuries. She made alphas bend knee who'd never submitted to anyone. That's going to be hard to beat." "I'll find a way," Mara says confidently. "I'm her daughter. I'm stubborn like that." We all laugh, and the sound echoes through the forest that once held only my desperate fear. Now it holds hope. As the sun sets and we make our way back to Pack Lands, to our home, our family, our future, I think about how far I've come. From the girl the forest claimed to the queen who commands wolves, from abandoned to essential, from worthless to priceless. They were wrong about me. All of them. Every alpha who said I was defective. Every wolf who said I was worthless. Every rule that said I didn't matter. They were wrong. And every day, with every law passed, every pup protected, every wolf who grows up knowing they have value regardless of rank or designation, I prove it. I am Kira, Luna Queen, mate to Alpha Dante, mother to the future, and the girl who survived. That night, under the full moon, I stand on the balcony of our home with Dante beside me and our children sleeping safely inside. "What are you thinking?" he asks. "That I wouldn't change anything," I say honestly. Not the abandonment, not the suffering, not the fear. Because all of it made me who I am. And who I am. I look at him. Who I am matters. Who I am changes things. Who I am protects the wolves who need protecting. "Who you are," Dante says, pulling me close, "is everything. You're my mate, my partner, my Luna Queen, and I fall more in love with you every single day." "Even when I'm being stubborn and refusing to compromise on new laws?" "Especially then." I laugh and kiss him, feeling the mate bond sing between us, feeling the weight of the crown I wear and the responsibility I carry, and the love that makes it all bearable. This is my life. This is my purpose. This is why I survived when I should have died. The moon goddess had plans for me. Plans that required me to be abandoned, to suffer, to grow strong in ways I never would have if I'd been kept and coddled and protected. I'm not grateful for the pain. but I'm grateful for what the pain taught me. Strength, resilience, compassion for those who suffer. The ability to look at broken things and see how they can be rebuilt better. As I stand there in the moonlight, I send a silent thank you to the forest that raised me, to my mother who gave her life for mine, to Sage who taught me, to Dante who chose me, to every wolf who believed in me when I was nothing, and to the 8-year-old girl who refused to die, who crawled through the forest with bleeding feet and an empty stomach and a will of steel, who healed a rabbit when she should have eaten it, who listened to the voice in her head when everyone said she was crazy, who survived because giving up wasn't in her nature. That girl became a queen, and this queen will spend every day of her life making sure no other girl has to fight that hard just to be seen as valuable. This is my vow. This is my legacy. This is why I survived. The end.